Hey babes, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe Show, a spinoff of the Be Real Babe podcast. And today, you guys, it is time to keep up with Canada. And I've got three separate articles that I've brought you today. Two have to do with bills, as I promised. Last episode, I'd be talking about the new bills that are floating around in the House of Commons right now, and as well as a very important story coming out of Alberta of a missing man that actually has been missing for quite some time. So I'm not sure why it's just hitting mainstream media right now, but I really wanted to bring that to your attention. So if you're interested in listening to those stories, stick around and we'll jump right in. Okay, babes, as mentioned, I have got three different articles that I wanted to go over today. So last week I had mentioned that I wanted to talk about some of the bills that were happening right now that were a little bit of a cause for concern. So I have two articles about that. But before we get into the bills of concern that I have concerns with, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about them. That's fine. That's cool. You think what you want. I'm going to allow to think what I want. But I want to go over this story that actually came out in May. And for some reason now it's just hitting at least my purview on the mainstream media. And I'm just curious why, because that is several months to be missing for looking for a missing man. And although I am not an expert on these things, I would imagine that having this stuff spread earlier in the investigation might help locate people. So I have my questions as to why this wasn't put out here, but let's jump into this article. Alberta man won $1 million and then disappeared. So this was posted October 10th, okay? Keep that in mind. And I'm sorry, my French is going to butcher this name, and I apologize. Joshua Francis Saulteaux won $1 million on a scratch and win ticket. Several weeks later, he has vanished. And now his family in the northern Alberta community where the 25-year-old was last seen fears the win might have something to do with his disappearance. It's more of a curse than a blessing, his uncle Francis Morin tells 660 News Radio. Saulteaux was last seen on May 5th. It is October 10th. City News, why are you just covering this now? The next day, one of his cousins went to look for him in his new RV, a purchase made possible by his lottery win. The RV was parked by his mother's house in Whitefish Lake First Nations, located about 220 kilometers northeast of Edmonton. Morin says they found a disturbing scene, including blood splattered inside and no sign of the young man. I guess so. That's my biggest question. So in May, he was found missing and there was blood on the scene and he's gone. Why wasn't this spread throughout social media everywhere? And maybe it was. I was really struggling to find something. I did find a lot on different First Nations pages that they were sharing this missing man, but nothing on on social media that I could see, nothing on mainstream outside of this article here. Morin said they found a disturbing. That was just weeks after his big win and a day after he told his mother he was worried that people were after him. RCMP Corporal Matthew Howell says the RCMP and partners have done extensive searches in the remote community by air and ground. And the investigation led by Major Crimes is ongoing. They have done some polygraphs, seized property, and are waiting on some forensic testing too. Forensic testing. Tell me how come some cases can be solved quite quick and then this one we're still 6 months out and still haven't had an answer? May, June, July, August, September, October. Okay, 5 months. 5 months. I understand the frustration. The investigation is important and it is still open, and we are still actively looking for this young man, and we're still following up on any tips or leads we get. At this point, they have nothing to indicate foul play and nothing to rule it out either, he says. I understand the frustration. This investigation is important and it is still open, and we are still actively looking for this young man, and we are still following up on any tips or leads we get, Howell says. We've interviewed over 60 different people and done an extensive investigation. Now, I can understand that. At the same time, again, this is my confusion. Why wasn't this spread all over every single media outlet as soon as possible in May? The man is gone. He just won a fuck ton of money. He's not being seen anywhere, and there's blood in his RV, the last place, on top of telling his mom he was worried someone was after him. I'm sorry, this is poorly taken care of. As time marches on, Morin says it's getting harder to be optimistic. No shit, and I am so sorry. There is also a possibility that Joshua left his RV wearing inappropriate clothing for the weather conditions, but that's just one of numerous possibilities. Again, why was there blood? That doesn't make sense. The only thing that would make sense is if he somehow fell and hurt himself, and then tried to get out and find help maybe. But then you'd think if he went somewhere and he had hurt himself and he was trying to go get help, that someone would have seen him on the extensive ground search and air search. So what the actual fuck? Sounds like to me someone wanted his money. This is just a legend. This is just speculation. But it sounds like to me someone wanted his money and took him the fuck out, got their money, and probably ditched him somewhere. I'm sorry, family, but like that's what I'm thinking. So why aren't the RCMP thinking of that? Like, unless there's a note, I don't really understand why someone would just abandon their whole entire life. Allegedly, he was a really big family man, loved his nieces and nephews. He was obviously living close to his mother, so he was obviously close to his mother. It's not this like some estranged person that no one cares about, which obviously matters too, but you know what I'm saying? So like, what the fuck? We just want him back, even if he is deceased. We want to lay him to rest, at least if we know where he is and find him, we can be at peace, he says. The longer the time goes on, the more hope is taken from you. And absolutely, I am so sorry for your family. I remotely, in a minor way, understand this because I still have a missing friends case from the island from years ago that is still unsolved. And the same thing happened. Like, stuff got sent out months and months, 6 months to almost a year later to try and help this investigation. Like, I get you have to hold some things private, but at the same time, are you impeding tips that you could be getting that are helpful by holding this information back? There are some stories going around, but no one is saying anything and no one knows anything, and we are just in shambles. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers at the RCMP. So I'm going to put his picture right here. And obviously, if you see anything, please call the authorities. Please let the family know. Like, it is so unfair to this family that they have to go without answers. And I kind of hate how people are like, oh, I understand your frustration. Do you though? I often wonder because, you know, I have been in dental and I do see sometimes the terrible bedside manners of some dentists. And I've seen that myself just as being a patient. I do wonder if police officers should sometimes go through a little bit more of like a bedside manner situation. Like, oh, I understand your frustration. Do you? Do you have a family member missing where there was blood and he had made a fuck ton of money? Like, I'd be curious, did his accounts get drained? Like, there's so many details of this I'm left unknown, but I just thought I would bring it up because you guys know how much I care about sharing stories of missing people in Canada. This one's in Alberta. This is 5 months past when he's been missing, but I always think that it is always helpful. As I mentioned in past, I do think it's a good idea to take screenshots of missing people, especially in your area, and keep it in a special little folder in your phone. So if you ever do come up to somebody that you think maybe it is, you do have some information to possibly help with these cases. Imagine if it was your family, right? So try and take a screenshot here of Joshua. Keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers, as his cousin mentioned, at least if they can find a body so that they can move on and find some peace. I can't imagine the turmoil you go through when your family member is missing and you don't know the answers. I imagine just being someone that always thinks of a million possibilities, what that could think like what that could feel like. So if anybody can help whatsoever in this case, even just sending prayers and love to the family, I think that is super important. So please keep them in your mind and in your front of thoughts when you're going around, especially in Alberta, in the northern region. Have a check of this man here and try to keep his mind and his face in your thoughts in case you do happen to miraculously see him, or if you ever know of anybody talking about a situation. You know what I'm saying? Some people like to talk. Okay, now let's get into the stuff that I said I was going to talk back about. Now, this comes from the Canadian Constitution Foundation. When people are always asking me, like, quote your sources, I do quote my sources, thank you, and this is one of them. So we're going to talk about, as I mentioned, there's some bills that are going on. I did talk about another bill in the Crimes Act bill that they're trying to change and make it so that they can come down on people online for harming people. And what does that mean? And where is that going to go? So this was an article published on October 1st. The Canadian Constitution Foundation is concerned about the civil liberties implicated of the Carney government's proposed cybersecurity bill C8, which would allow the Minister of Industry to secretly order telecommunication providers like TELUS, Bell, and Rogers to stop providing services to individual Canadians. That alone is dangerous. That is so dangerous. And again, everything is going to come under the guise of safety, under the guise of protecting children, under the guise of public safety. And although I do agree that we need to have some checks and balances here, who gets to decide what that safety measure is? You know what I'm saying? You remember the Freedom Convoy and the Emergencies Act? They trampled on our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So who's to say they're not going to do it again? And this time they're going to cut your internet? Brother, I work. I need my job. How would I ever work from home if you cut my fucking internet because I shared a meme? And you can laugh and say, Brandy, that's out of control. Look at the United Kingdom right now. People are getting arrested on the daily for their posts on social media now. And they are implementing digital ID, and that is going to be tracked. If people don't see that we're on route to a social credit system here, I'm not sure what to tell you. Where they're going to start deciding what's safe and what's not safe, what's harmful, what's not harmful, what's hate and what's not hate, when sometimes that could just be subjective, or you could just be a pussy with your emotions. Sorry. Words are not violence. You can use words as manipulation, and they can be used on a mind control level, but general public that are just spitting their emotions and their feelings are not hateful individuals, and we do not need to worry about mind control just from the general, woke mindset and mob mentality for sure, but they're not violence, and we need to understand that. But there are people in Canada right now that have been arrested for their online behavior. I'm not joking. Look it up. It's there. Maybe we'll talk about that in the next episode. So this is, to me, a slippery fucking slope, because now, because you might say something online, even if you're not an online presence, or even if it's not your business that might be upset with what you're saying online, they could cut your services. And then what? You go and run your 5G? Because I'm sure if it's going to go to your internet, oh yeah, it's telecommunication providers. So it's not even saying it's just going to shut down your internet. Is this implying that they can shut down your cell phone too? The minister would be allowed to make such an order if she has reasonable grounds to believe that it is necessary to secure the Canadian telecommunications system against any threat, including that of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation. Again, these are very broad terms. This is one person that gets to decide, and it's done in secret. That's not awkward. How the fuck do you tell your boss that you just lost your internet from sharing a political meme? An individual who does not comply, including by failing to keep the order secret, could face fines of up to $25,000 for the first contravention and $50,000 for subsequent contraventions. Businesses could face fines up to $10 million for the first contravention and up to $15 million for subsequent contraventions. Are we understanding what this is saying? They're going to bankrupt your business and your whole entire life if you, quote unquote, have any sort of what they deem as threat, including interference, manipulation, disruption, and degradation. Where does that go? Y'all can't even fucking take down sex rings and sex trafficking and minors being abused online. So you're going to go after this. Who has threatened Canada to shut them down on that level? I've yet to hear about it. So who are you protecting yourself from, government? Are you protecting yourself from international interference? Or are you worried that the Canadians are coming up and speaking more than they ever have about the terrible management of our country? We have free speech. As of right now, I'm allowed to say it, and I'm allowed to feel that way. I'm just a little Canadian. I'm not in government. I don't hold an official position anywhere. So why does it matter what my opinion is? Is it because in numbers we're terrifying? Is it because during the Freedom Convoy you quickly realized that Canadians are fucking savage and we've been nice for too long? I know some people want to stay cozy in their homes, but what happens when they take your internet away? What happens if conservatives get in and all of you people calling Pierre Poilievre a fucking Nazi? What's that going to be for you? What's that going to look like, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Just because your liberal government is in right now and maybe you don't like the conservatives and what Pierre Poilievre stands for, but what happens because we are right on the brink of switching over to a conservative government? I guarantee you most people that were on the fence about Carney are done. And it's just going to be the long-lived liberals that cannot get out of their ego and try something new. What's going to happen when that turns? I said this during the Freedom Convoy. I said this during COVID. I said this during the vaccinations. What happens when it's something that you care about and that infringes on your rights and the things that you believe in? I bet you wish you would have spoke up earlier, because I guarantee you when they take, they will never give back. When they charge more, they're never going to charge less. Is this where we want to be, Canada? Is this fucking it? Where someone maybe says something politically online that you don't agree with, you think they should lose their access to the internet? I mean, maybe it's fucking better we go back to times before. To be quite honest with you, I think social media has done a damage on our society and brain rot. So what's going to happen when you gamers don't have your fucking gaming? You content creators don't have your internet to create content. And hey, maybe right now you're following the rules, but babe, one time someone else is going to be in charge. And if that rule is in charge and you're on the opposite side, what is that going to feel like? You have to really think outside of your fucking political box right now and think about this. Think about the slippery slope that this is, okay? The orders would remain secret indefinitely, with the minister required only to present an annual report to Parliament on the number of orders made and her opinion on the necessity, reasonableness, and utility. Again, look at the fucking Freedom Convoy and how there's only a handful of people that decided to go to that Emergencies Act, and they're still now fighting. Years passed, and when many people are over it and don't care anymore, do you see how they do this? And some of you will just remember the headlines, and that is how you go forward in history, and that's how you continue this cycle because you don't dig any deeper. Well, one day, babes, it's going to be your fucking internet and your voice, and honestly, I'm not trying to be that way, but CCF counsel Josh DeHaas said that the power to cut off the internet or cell phone service of Canadians is very serious power that requires very strong safeguards, which is presently lacking in the bill. And I'm going to go to the Freedom Convoy individuals right now, Tamara Lynch and Chris, is it Barber? They were just released. They're literally going to be on house arrest for a year. Imagine the money that has been wasted by the Canadian government taking these two to court for starting something in a peaceful protest. Now, you might not think it was peaceful. That's subjective, but nobody hurt anybody. There's people on the streets right now that are actually harming people, burning flags, don't give a shit about Canada, and y'all are okay with that. They don't get fines. They don't go to jail. Canadians standing up for Canadians, though, no, we don't stand for that. At what point, you guys? When are you going to wake the fuck up? I hate using that sentence. I've been hearing it for 5 years and I hate it, but seriously. While the powers may be necessary in some cases to prevent cyber attacks, again, where is a cyber attack? Who has said that? It also poses serious risk to civil liberties. That's my concern. I worry that this law could be used to secretly cut off political dissents from their phone or internet service on the pretense that they may try to manipulate the telecom system. Such an action would violate our most cherished freedoms, including free speech. Exactly. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you, CCF, so much for standing up for us. I know you guys are making a huge fucking difference, and I promise to bring more of the goodness that you're coming to the show because I truly appreciate you. CCF Litigation Director Christine Van Geen said that the government cannot be trusted with such power unless proper safeguards in place. Yeah. You may think that the idea of the government cutting off political dissents from the necessities of life sound far-fetched, but that's exactly what happened during the 2022 Freedom Convoy protests in Ottawa. The federal government ordered banks to freeze hundreds of bank accounts without any judicial, sometimes English is hard, guys, authorization, cutting protesters off from the money in the middle of a very cold winter. Although the federal court agreed with the CCF that freezing bank accounts this way violated the constitutional rights to be secured against unreasonable searches and seizures, that kind of damage isn't easily repaired, she added. Agreed. A lot of us are still very upset and we don't trust none y'all. None ya. Ottawa has appealed the federal court's finding. The CCF is awaiting for decisions from the Federal Court of Appeal. DeHaas said that the Parliament should consider requiring either judicial pre-authorization or an immediate automatic judicial review of any decision to cut off individuals or businesses from the internet. This has to be vetted, you guys. This can't just be one person that's got a fucking trip. Like, I'm sorry, no. Government, you've ruined it. You've ruined it with the way your liberals have just taken over government. No. Full stop, no. The CCF is also concerned that Bill C-8 would allow the minister to weaken telecommunication companies' encryption standards, allowing unconstitutional access to Canadians' private information. Do you know how many fucking phone calls I get from fraud these days? We need more protection in this than less. So no, don't open up our private information, please. Finally, the CCF is concerned that the bill would allow the minister or any person designated by the minister to engage in the unconstitutional searches. Joanna Barron, the CCF executive director, said that Canadians must be vigilant about their constitutional rights and freedoms because they can be easily taken away, especially in times of crisis. Yes, we've already seen this. I would encourage Canadians to fight for their freedoms, whether it's by taking the CCF free privacy course, signing up for our weekly Freedom Update newsletter, or becoming a monthly donor. Concerned Canadians are also encouraged to write to their MPs using our form to tell them to amend these bills to ensure Canadians' rights to privacy and freedom expression are protected, Barron added. And I'm going to link this article specifically in the description box so you can go and grab all of these things. Their free course, their letter, where you can go donate, and your form. I will be doing that this weekend as well. I'm going to be sending in a form about C8 and as well as C12, which we're going to go over here, which also I think is super important. So the final one I want to go over with you guys again, this is also from the Canadian Constitution Foundation. So this is released on October 9th. The federal Carney government has separated privacy-threatening provisions from its border security bill, C2, into a new bill called C12, following pressure from the CCF and other advocacy groups. Splitting the bill reduces the likelihood that the constitutionality questionable parts of C2 will become law. However, the CCF is urging the government to affirm Canada's privacy rights by formally withdrawing the original C2 border bill. The introduction of this new border bill, C12, came after concerted efforts by advocacy groups, including the CCF, raising concerns that the original C2 would violate the constitutional rights of Canadians to be secured against unreasonable searches and seizures. Again, Canadians, maybe you guys should have taken the whole year off. I digress. Take the money and don't go to work, because if you're going to work to just continually take our constitutional rights, I really hope that you just fucking leave. Just go on vacation for the rest of the year. You know, like if you're going to go to work and this is what you're going to do, don't work at all or quit. Like I truly cannot stand this government and the amount of things that they're trying to do to take away from us in the name of safety, when there is literally no security threat right now. The new bill does not contain the 5 of the parts of Bill C2 that the CCF had warned would violate the constitutional rights of Canadians to be secured against unlawful searches. Specifically, these 5 parts do not appear in C12. Provisions in Part 16 that would enlist financial institutions in snooping. This would allow banks, on the behalf of the government, to look at your transactions. New powers in Part 4 of Canada Post to open letter mail without proper safeguards. Your private mail from a service that is already going down. Do we love this? So bank account snooping, mail snooping. New powers in Part 14 to allow police to demand subscriber information without warrants. How is that anybody's business? How is somebody's subscriber list anybody's business, especially without a warrant? I don't even know how I would get that. If someone asked me for that, I don't even know how to get that. Maybe that's not to me. Maybe that's to big businesses, perhaps like Spotify or YouTube. But why does that matter? New powers in Part 15 to potentially enlist electronic service providers in spying, which they already do to a degree, but this would allow them to allow the government into that for sure without any reason. A ban on cash transactions over $10,000. Meaning that they can see every single one of your transactions through digital tracking. Do you see why people are concerned about digital ID and credit score systems? Because if you allowed all this to go through and then we have digital ID, then they can go through your shit and credit you on how good you are of a person and start taking your privileges away. You think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Look at where we've gone. Look at the pandemic. Look at the vax passes. That was just a fucking test run. It's happening in the UK. This is going to happen in Australia. And this is happening here. We're the first 3 of the Commonwealth that just get fucked every time because we're dumb. Our buddy Josh DeHaas, CCF counsel, said that while he was encouraged to see the government remove all of the privacy violating sections of Bill C2 from Bill C12, the government should commit to not bringing them back by formally withdrawing Bill C2. The new bill takes out most of the offensive sections of C2 and creates a new bill, C12, that is likely to pass. While that's progress, I would still like to see the Carney government withdraw C2 so that it's not resurrected in the future, he added. The CCF also remains concerned about the federal cybersecurity legislation, Bill C8, which we just went over, which would allow the Minister of Industries to cut off phone and internet services. CCF litigation director Christine Van Geen said that she was heartened that the hundreds of CCF supporters used the CCF forums to write to their members of parliament to ask them to stop Bill C2 and C8. The CCF created an online portal where members of the public can write their MPs of concern. The fight is not over yet, she said. I encourage any Canadian who cares about their privacy and who hasn't already done so to use our forms to ensure C2 is withdrawn and C8 is fixed. Again, I'll be doing that this weekend. CCF Executive Director Joanna Barron said that the government appearing to back down shows that the pressure from informed citizens can help protect constitutional rights. While the fight is not over, this news shows we are making progress. I want to thank every single Canadian who spoke out about this bill or who used our form to write their MP. Exactly, guys. Like, it is in our hands. We are so much more powerful than we ever give ourselves credit for. And what I'm going to do tomorrow actually is, while this is launching live, I'm going to record myself and the letters that I'm writing in and also post that to social media to help you guys. Like I said, I will link these two articles in the bio here, so you could go click the link, go for yourself, find the form. But really, you just have to go to Canadian Constitutional Foundation and they'll have all the information about what's going on. They're on their asses about this. And I think it's really important that we talk about it because change can happen. Now, if these people didn't do this, those would still be in the bill that's likely to pass. And your government is okay with this. Does that not scare anybody? I'm really trying not to fearmonger here, but this is absolutely mind-blowing. Like, when is this going to stop? Can you please do stuff that actually helps us? Like, can we actually help people that are in poverty, that are going through mental health crises, instead of trying to attack these threats that aren't here? Do you realize that the threats aren't from Canadians? Like, born and raised Canadians? Like, I don't know, man. I feel like we could like look at immigration and, I don't know, the drug crisis, the opioid crisis, the mental health crisis. I don't know, the MAIDs pandemic, the literal MAIDs pandemic, where 1 in 13 Canadians are dying of MAIDs, where the most vulnerable people are pushing to have compassionate dying, which is really just being a drug that drowns you, that literally waterboards you from the inside. I'm sorry if that's hard to hear, but you are put on I can't say the word right now. You're frozen. Your whole body's frozen. So you can't feel anything. You can't do anything, but you were drowned from the inside. And this can take anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. Go look it up. It's not compassionate caring. It's literally euthanasia. Let's call it what it is. This is where we're going, Canada. Are you okay with this? Because speaking out about things that you don't like about is quickly going to be taken away from you. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on. When government implements it, it's very rare for them to rescind it. I'm sure Pierre would love to when he gets in to rescind most of this. It takes years. It's not like the States where we can just sign an executive order like Trump and it's just done. The red tape in our legislation is insane. So please, for the love of fucking God, take 1 hour of your day to write to your MPs, to email them with these subject lines. You don't need to be a professional writer. Hey, I am not okay with this bill and these are why. As my fucking as my representative, I want you to represent me. You voted for people for a reason. Use your voice, talk to them, make them put their money where their mouth is. They're getting paid to do this, to speak for you in the House of Commons, to bring this shit up. The more people talk about it, the more things will happen. The less people talk about it, the more bad things are going to happen. Okay? So, as Canadians, it's getting to be winter. It's going to be 10 degrees. I know in Alberta it's getting minus. We have some indoor time. Take an hour of your doom scrolling every week to write to your MPs about things that you don't like. Take every week to jump in for an hour or two, even though you hate the news. You don't even have to listen to everything. Just get a little bit. Understand what's going on. Go to CCF if you want to just understand what is truly happening in the House of Commons. Get rid of everything else. Get rid of the noise and the biases from people like me, from news reporters. Go straight to these sources. Go right to the government websites and talk to the people that you voted in locally, provincially, federally. That's how we make changes. And look, it's happening. And thank fucking God it is. Because the minute these laws come in, I'm either going to jail or I'm losing everything that I have with this. And that's terrifying. We should all be afraid of that. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but at some point you need to get out of your fucking bubble, take your head out of the sand, and get your ass in the game. Okay? Head out of the sand, ass in game. We get it? Head out, ass in. Sounds terrible out of context. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for sticking around. If you stick around this far, don't forget that we have Internet Insanity this Wednesday. We have 5 weeks past of keeping up with Canada since I started the season, and Internet Insanity to catch up if you haven't. Don't forget that the podcast is every Friday on Apple, Spotify, Rumble. You can find amazing interviews with me there. You'll find me on social media at the Be Real Babe or the Be Real Babe Collective, Instagram, TikTok. I am all on there. If you want your own Be Real Babe merch, let me know. We are working on that, hopefully launching a store in 2026. So stay tuned to Q1 2026. But I appreciate you guys. I hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving weekend. I guess I should have said that. Happy Thanksgiving, Canadians. I hope you enjoyed your long weekend. I hope you're gearing up to fight for our country, and never give up on this beautiful place, because we deserve it. We live here. We love it. We want to see it better, and it's up to us to fucking do it. There's no more depending on the government. Please get that out of your mind. They're literal trash. Anyways, guys, I'm going to shut the fuck up, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye.